There are some roads that seem to defy the possibilities of human engineering. Today, we're outside of Lone Pine, California, and heading up one of the most remarkable roads. This road is going to take us from 3,500 feet in the Owens Valley up to over 10,000 feet in the High Sierra. Come along with us as we explore the history and incredible scenic views of Horseshoe Meadow Road. From south of the town of Lone Pine, take Lubkin Canyon Road through the green swale of original ranch land. Soon the big peaks come into view: Lone Pine, Mount Whitney. After just a couple of miles, you'll turn south on Horseshoe Meadow Road for the 16-mile drive into the high country. You'll immediately notice the sign for lavender produced at the De La Cour Ranch, one of the original stopping points for pilgrims along this roadway. In November of 2024, the Horseshoe Fire swept down the mountain through Carroll Creek, destroying 8 structures and much of the De La Cour Ranch, and burning 4,500 acres of hillside and riparian watershed. You can see here where firefighters were able to carve out a containment line to further prevent the fire from spreading toward the Alabama hills. So before Horseshoe Meadow Road was paved, it was originally established by a man of the name Hockett, and it was known as the Hockett Trail. Sometime in the early 1800s, a wagon trail was built into this area of Carroll Creek, and a man by the name of Hockett later expanded the trail high up into the mountains. That trail, once paved, eventually transformed into Horseshoe Meadow Road. In the 1880s, Alfred de la Cour Carroll, a founding member of the Sierra Club, purchased the 40 acres here at Carroll Creek and owned the property until the 1920s. In the 1930s, the ranch was transformed into a pack station that would bring visitors high up into the Sierra Mountains. In the 1960s, some of the Hockett Trail was destroyed in paving the way for the additional 13 miles of Horseshoe Meadow Road, leading to the Cottonwood Basin 6,000 feet above. So we're only about halfway up the road here, and the views are just absolutely spectacular. Let's keep going and see where this road takes us. Driving this road is kind of like driving from Mexico to Alaska. We're gonna go through 4 different ecosystems, from the desert all the way up into alpine terrain. It's gonna be a remarkable change of scenery. So you can see here that we're in the juniper pinyon woodland. By the time we get to the top near Horseshoe Meadow, we're going to be in an ecosystem that consists of lodgepole pines and foxtail. Lodgepole pines were the primary timber used in the Sherman-Stevens Mill, which was critical to the mines at Cerro Gordo and which lies at the head of Cottonwood Canyon, high above. As we wind up, you can see the way the road was carved into the hillside and how sections of the mountain had to be blasted to allow for passage. This is also where the drop-offs seem to get a bit more precipitous. There are no guardrails, so be sure to keep your eyes on the road. In its entirety, Horseshoe Meadow Road took over 100 years to become the highway to the heavens that we know today. And rather than being just a road that gets you from the desert to the mountains, it is truly filled with so much incredible history that to travel it is like traveling back in time. Pretty soon we make it to one of the most scenic viewpoints of the drive. So we're stopping here at one of the scenic pullouts along this road. This one is known as Walt's Point, and it's named after a man by the name of Walter Millett, who was a construction worker who helped build Horseshoe Meadow Road. Let's take a look at the sign here that's on this plaque, on this boulder. Walt's Point, memory of Walter G. Millett, September 6, 1906, November 2nd, 1965. And it's kind of emblazoned on this gorgeous several-ton boulder. So the story of Walter G. Millett, as I've read it, is that Walter was a bulldoze operator and worked on air compressors and other machinery. And one day as he was driving up Horseshoe Meadow Road, he stepped out of his bulldozer and unfortunately had a heart attack. And he was so beloved by his crew that they went to the extent of building this memorial for him on this granite boulder and leaving this plaque. This was a time before cell phones, and the base station at the top of the hill had to radio down to Lone Pine for an ambulance. Because the road was not yet complete in 1965, the ambulance had to be chained to a bulldozer and pulled up the hill. By that time, it was too late. And one of the things about this spot here is that it's a popular launch point for hang gliders. Let's go take a look at what's over the cliff here. It's been said that hang gliders have launched from here and gone up to 100 miles out across the desert. And today is a bit of a hazy day, but on a good day you can see the peaks of Death Valley in that direction, right over there. Can you imagine getting a running start from over here, picking up speed, taking a jump and letting the warm thermals glide you out over this valley here? Let's give it a try. Pretty soon we were on to the last stretch of road before reaching the top. There are two very rigorous and challenging trails that come up from down in the Owens Valley to the top near Horseshoe Meadow. One is the Cottonwood Creek Trail, and the other one is known as the Wormhole Canyon Trail. And there's actually quite a bit of history associated, at least with the Cottonwood Creek Trail, which was part of the Cerro Gordo mining operation beginning in the mid-1800s. Up at the top near the head of Cottonwood Canyon was an old mill. It was called the Sherman Stevens Mill. And Sherman Stevens came up here, he established the mill and used the timber up here, sent it down Cottonwood Creek and then almost down to Owens Lake, where they built charcoal kilns in order to turn the timber into charcoal, which would then be shipped via the Bessie Brady across Owens Lake, which at that time was high enough and hadn't been destroyed by the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, which was high enough to cross via steamboat. They would then send that coal across the lake to smelters over at Swansea and Keeler. The ore from Cerro Gordo was then transported down the mountain to those smelters. And so really the operation at Cerro Gordo really only made sense because of the connection to the eastern side of the Sierra. I show you here the remarkable difference in ecosystem between the juniper pinyon forest that we've been driving through and inside of this canyon here. You'll notice, of course, that there is water coming down from the Cottonwood Lakes, but we're starting to get into more of like a fir forest. And so you have cottonwood trees, you have fir trees, and of course, if there are animals up here, you know they're coming down to check out the creek here. So this water here behind us is coming down from about 12,000 feet. If you took this trail straight up, you'd eventually end up at Horseshoe Meadows, which would then eventually lead you to the Cottonwood Lakes Basin. And that's at around 11,000 feet. From there, you can hike up all the way to what's called New Army Pass, which will take you over the crest of the Sierra down into other basins in the interior. So here is the Cottonwood Canyon trail marker. This is a fishing creek. This area is renowned for the golden trout, which thrive and only exist here in the Cottonwood Lakes area. You can see here that the mountain mahogany is starting to go to seed. It grows these very furry little seed pods here and creates this silvery sheen all over the tree. So I'm going to give you guys a view here of Cottonwood Canyon. So if you were to do the canyon hike, you'd start way down the base there near Owens Valley and wind your way up through this canyon. It's about 4 or 5 miles, I think, but it's about 7,000 feet of vertical gain. So pretty intense hike, I'd have to imagine. Definitely better done in the fall or on a cloudy day like today. Soon the road leveled out and we were almost at the top. All right, so we've ascended from about 3,500 feet to about 9,600 feet right now. We're in a completely different ecosystem. We got lodgepole pines and firs and just kind of that montane feel. It's maybe about 15 to 20 degrees cooler than it was back down in Owens Valley on this gorgeous summer day. And check this out, the clouds are rolling in. Now, will it rain? They don't look super threatening right now, but in the high Sierra, when you have clouds rolling in the afternoon, there's always a chance. Check out this gorgeous view of the Cottonwood Basin here. One thing I wanted to tell you guys about this Horseshoe Meadows Road is that it never would have been built if not for the good graces of Walt Disney. This road was going to be, believe it or not, part of a Trans-Sierra highway stretching from the Owens Valley to the west side of the Sierra in an area called the Mineral King Valley. Back in the 1950s and 60s, Walt Disney had a vision of expanding his Disney empire, and he wanted to build a world-class ski resort in the Mineral King Valley. It would have had something like a couple dozen chairlifts, a parking garage for a couple thousand people, and it would have been built into a variety of about 8 naturally occurring glacial cirques. As a result of pressure from environmentalist groups, including the Sierra Club, the plan never went through. So this Horseshoe Meadows Road here that we're currently driving up, instead of being a Trans-Sierra highway to a Disney-themed resort in Mineral King Valley, is a road to nowhere. It drives up about a mile more to trailheads and campgrounds that lead into the great wilderness of the Sierra. And I'd say we're pretty darn lucky that's how it turned out. Instead, we have this. So thank you, Walt Disney, for the hard work. We know that you would have preferred it this way, because preserving the wilderness was part of one of the core values of the Disney empire. The most fun part of this road is yet to come. So we're headed from up here all the way back down there. One last tidbit of history before we depart. Disney's animatronic Country Bear Jamboree was originally envisioned as entertainment at the planned Mineral King Resort. When the resort vision did not come to fruition, the bears lived on and were placed at Disney's Magic Kingdom. Later, several replica versions made appearances at Disney World Florida, Tokyo, and elsewhere. Disney once dreamed of creating a magic kingdom in the sky in Mineral King Valley, but the truth is he didn't need to. This place is already magical. No ski lift pass, no parking garage, no ticket gate. Just open trails, alpine meadows, and peaks that feel like they were designed for wonder. Spend a few hours here or a few days, and you'll discover a kind of magic no theme park could ever build. So if you're ever passing through Lone Pine, I highly recommend taking the drive up Horseshoe Meadow Road. It really gives you a perspective of the grandeur and vastness of the Owens Valley. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Hope to see you next time.